Hi, I'm Ali Zendrian, Editor-in-Chief of Brand News, and this is the Financial Services News You Might Have Missed podcast. This is where I uncover news gems that might not have gotten their full chance to sparkle, and I dust them off a little bit. I'm joined by my trusted co-host, and more importantly, my personal financial advisor, Brandon Galisi of Galisi Financial. Brandon, how's your week been going?
Week's been going pretty good. We had to record a day early last week because I took part 2 of the enrolled agent exam last Thursday during our normal time. And fortunately, I did pass. And I think of the 3 from talking to a lot of other advisors who have also passed their EA, the second one, which was about business taxation, is typically the toughest. So that gives me I feel like I'm more in the home stretch, so still diligently studying for the last one that I'll take here in a couple of weeks, and then I'll officially be an EA. And other than that, getting ready to go to Cabo next week. So super excited and just trying to get all of the work done in the next 24 hours. So we'll see.
Sounds good. Well, best of luck in getting all that done, and congratulations. I look forward to just turning over all my tax papers to you.
Perfect. Sounds good.
So our first piece of news this week is from interVal, which helps small and medium-sized businesses know the true value of their business and find growth opportunities. interVal announced a partnership with IG Wealth Management, which is a Canadian financial planning firm that has more than $148 billion in assets under advisement. interVal provides comprehensive business valuations and key business health metrics. So I thought that this was great. First of all, shout out to interVal. I love Karen Chalmers, but also I think this concept of knowing what your business is worth, especially with sort of the sentiments about the economy and the markets and whatnot, like now is basically the best time to know what's going on.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think that makes a lot of sense. And even how they're using AI with human. So again, we talk a lot about AI and humans on this podcast. So from reading that press release, it looks like they're doing just that. And I could see AI being super helpful in this use case because they're dealing with likely a lot of data, whether that's income statements, balance sheets, all sorts of stuff. And especially as companies get larger, I mean, just a few income statements is a lot of data to be combing through. So when you've got that human oversight and that human expertise that they're going to bring to the table, that's likely just going to make the humans more efficient at their job and potentially be able to serve even more business owners and helping them with their valuations. And especially when it comes to a financial planning, or in this context, specifically a retirement planning conversation, I know as an advisor, being able to at least get closer to the ballpark before, paying however much money it costs to get business valuations done would be at least helpful to get some ballpark figures that are reasonably accurate. So you can do some planning before having to dive hardcore into that business valuation process. Seemed really cool to me.
Yeah, absolutely. So from your standpoint, how often should somebody be like looking at their valuation or updating it? So, I mean, if I know right now and it's a little before the start of September, do I need to know by the end of the year? Should I check it in a year? Does it just depend on the kind of business that I have?
Yeah, I think the short answer that all advisors are always going to give is it depends. But I feel like to provide a bit more context or framework, I think what it depends on is your timeline, how the business is when you're potentially looking to sell, I think you should at least be answering the question, why am I doing this business valuation? Because is it, hey, I want to see what it's worth just because it might help frame some of my decisions on whether we should be raising capital. Okay, that's a solid why. Hey, I plan to retire in 5 to 10 years. I want a good idea on what that might look like. That's another good reason. So I think just making sure that there's some level of intent behind it versus just, I'm going to do this and it's going to change none of my decision making. Well, probably don't need to do it yet then, if that's the case. So just make like a lot of things, make sure there's a good why behind it. There's an intention. And then that at least be my short answer.
I appreciate that. Very thoughtful. So our second piece of news this week comes from Payment Labs, which closed its oversubscribed $3.25 million seed round to help simplify complex payment processes for people in the areas of sports and creators, among others. So this press release brought up the international nature of sports matches and it being tough to manage the payments around that, which was something that I hadn't really thought of, but totally makes sense why you would need a solution to help manage that. The seed investment in particular is going to help accelerate Payment Labs' ability to streamline payments with solutions for issues like royalties and revenue sharing. So that was another one that, not knowing enough and not getting royalties and not doing revenue sharing, I don't know how this stuff works, but it sounds a little complicated to me. What did you think about all that?
Yeah, definitely complicated. So I don't deal with a bunch of, actually, I don't think there's really anyone that I'm dealing with right now that would have income from even multiple countries. But once that is the case, or athletes, especially if they're doing anything overseas, I mean, it's challenging enough domestically, because what a lot of people don't realize is when these, fame or NFL or NBA, golf, etc., they're going to have to technically pay some state tax whenever they're playing. State players come and play the Lakers or the Clippers. They're going to have to pay some state tax based on that day. And we're talking, they could be getting tens of thousands to hundreds of thousands of dollars for that one game effectively. And they're going to have multiple state returns for these professional athletes. So that's even just domestically. And that can become a bit of a headache. I haven't personally done returns or done planning for any professional athletes like that, but I'm at least aware, high level of what that's like. I could only imagine that it gets even more complex when you now start factoring in different countries. Now you got to figure out all the tax treaty stuff, where is money getting withheld and what agency, all sorts of complexity there. So again, while I don't personally deal with this kind of thing, makes a ton of sense why they're trying to streamline this, because to me, it just sounds like a big old headache. That's for sure.
Yeah, I didn't realize that about if you played in one area, because Lord only knows, then do you just pull out your roster of where you played and like, well, you and you and you, that's a lot. Yeah. But also this shows any athletes, obviously Brandon knows what he's talking about. Just saying.
Yeah. For all the professional athletes that are listening to our show, feel free to reach out.
You never know.
Hey, they could be. I'm not saying they couldn't, but no, I think that would be a lot of fun. So obviously I'm a huge fan of sports, and I do think there could be some really cool, they might be W-2 from their team, but then they also have endorsements. Those likely are going to be 1099 income and all of the business expenses and other write-offs that are associated with that. So I do actually think it would be pretty fun to work with a professional athlete from at least that perspective. There's a lot of complexity, but I'm a geek, as we all know. So I think that sounds fun to me. Figure it out.
All right. Well, there you go. So our third piece of news is also related to funding. Apparently it's funding week here. Welcome Tech is a digital platform serving immigrant workforces and the companies that employ them. They closed a $7.5 million funding round. The money from this is going to accelerate its proprietary AI development, as well as expand its workforce engagement platform. The latter connects immigrants with essential services such as healthcare and financial tools and jobs. So first of all, I didn't know that such a platform existed. I think obviously, given this population, any kind of resource that they could get at all is super helpful. Really brought to mind how we serve these people and how many different places employ immigrants. So that made it top of mind for me. Curious what, if anything, you thought about it.
Yeah, I mean, similar thoughts to you. I didn't realize that service like this exists, but it makes sense. I think a lot of it is providing more accessibility. It's just one of my favorite words in general, whether we're talking about finance specifically, or in this case, jobs or healthcare or other resources and tools. Because I think if we can continue to provide more accessibility for people, and in this case, immigrants, almost everyone benefits from that, right? I mean, there's these employers and they're trying to find people to fill jobs. How do they get connected? It sounds like this is going to be a platform where they can get some assistance in that. So I see this as looks like a win-win across the board.
Great. Kudos to you. Welcome Tech. And thanks for making it to my consciousness.
Yeah, really cool.
Our fourth piece of news this week, which as you'll notice, I'm saying fourth, so this isn't our final bit of news, is from Kikoff, which is a credit building platform. They released a survey of 1,500 US consumers and found that 66% were unaware that there are AI tools available to help manage money and build credit. Additionally, another stat from the survey was that 86% have never used any of these tools. So Brandon, you had a brilliant point that we were talking about pre-podcast, so I'm just going to tee you up to that.
Yeah, I think we've talked about it on the podcast recently. I was quoted in a wealthmanagement.com article recently as well. And that article, or not that article, but the original study was saying that financial advisors are at the short list, basically, of professions that are going to be not as necessary because of AI. But then we see data and statistics like this, that 86% have never used AI-powered financial tools to manage their finances. Can't remember off the top of my head, but there was another percentage that hadn't even considered using AI 66. For finances. 66%, like that's 2 out of 3 people haven't even considered it. And it's like, again, another reason why I'm not worried at all for even, I'd say, the industry as a whole, but especially for myself and a lot of my friends and a lot of just some great advisors in the industry that I associate myself with. They're not going away anytime soon. You have people not even thinking about it. And then I think I'd seen another stat. Let me pull it up. Yeah, only 22% see the value in AI giving financial advice. Was another stat that I pulled from the article. So right now, only 1 in 5 even see the value in that. So again, I think for very basic tasks, how much can I put in my Roth this year? Or I make this much money. Am I able to put money into my Roth IRA? Basic questions like that, absolutely. Like that's going to be super low hanging fruit. Great use case of AI. But once it's, hey, I've got $500,000, I've got $1 million, I'm looking to retire in the next 3 to 5 years. Probably going to want some human expertise and guidance for something like that. So again, as the stakes get higher, I think that's when that's when AI is not going to be able to fully provide the assistance and value.
So it makes you wonder, bringing that up. So these studies, is it just that like we're surveying different populations, that Microsoft on the one hand in the wealth management story surveyed XYZ population and Kikoff surveyed another group of people? Or is it that we're overinflating this idea that AI is going to take over and the people are speaking and they're saying, no, it's not? It's an interesting dichotomy of you hear AI, and then crickets.
Right. And then people are like, wait, I could use AI for my finances, Yeah. So there's a huge disconnect, which again, I think that's why it's so personal, and it's all about who we've interviewed. Because if you interview, we'll just say a more DIY, do it yourself type, they're going to be like, of course I'm using AI as my financial advisor. Why would I ever pay a financial advisor? I could do this all by myself. You're going to get one response. But then for others that would be a better client for a financial advisor, who would be maybe more of a validator or a delegator. I think that was a Forrester study a few years ago that came out with that. Like if you had the exact same questions, but you asked the DIY, the validator, and the delegator, you're going to get slightly different responses. And it doesn't mean any of them is necessarily correct or not correct. It's just who do you ask? There's going to be people that love AI. There's people that clearly don't even use AI at all and are vehemently against using AI at this point. And again, it's been out for a few years. And even a couple of years ago, people are like, oh, all of our jobs are going away. And we just
We're still here.
Haven't really seen it. And like, not even just in our industries, but others. And I'm like, I personally don't know any friends that have been laid off because of AI. Do you?
That I'm aware of.
Right. Yeah, exactly. And that'd be maybe a question for everyone who's listening, as well as you and I in conversation. See if we can just keep asking that question. Hey, do you know anyone that's been laid off because AI has just totally replaced them? Because so far I don't know of anyone, which is a good thing.
Well, right, exactly. Last week, now I'm forgetting who exactly had that, but it was the study that said that actually people are hiring more as a result of AIs. It would just be lovely if we could all get our stories straight.
Yeah, I still think they're really it's something about the efficiency. I think AI is going to, again, handle some of the tasks, but I think then that provides new jobs, or our day-to-day looks a bit different maybe than it did before.
Yeah. Which, I mean, as it should. We're not going to keep doing the exact same thing the exact same way till we retire.
Hopefully not.
Well, I mean, if you do, you're probably not going to be doing it too much longer.
Right. Yeah. And it's like, if someone's going to get replaced by AI, it will be that mindset. This is the way we've always done it. I'm not going to change anything. And sure, that type of person is going to be on the chopping block, if you will. But for anyone else that's even just, doesn't even have to be an AI expert, just wanting to learn a bit more, I can be a bit more efficient at my job, so I can focus on X, which I believe is a higher value task. Well, they're likely not going to get replaced then. They're probably going to be more productive. And therefore, if they're more productive, probably generating some level of more revenue for their company. And if you're generating revenue for your company, they're probably going to keep you, assuming everything else is good.
Yes, absolutely makes sense. Our last bit of news, which I might have some fancy feelings about, and last, certainly not being least, is from Archive Intel, which is in the AtoZ Communications Network. This firm launched the AI Marketing Review to streamline marketing compliance review. The press release says it will make work go faster without compromising oversight, which is obviously huge, and everything that you're saying, basically. The system will flag performance claims and other high-risk terms. And what I thought was particularly huge about this development is that it will send the content directly to compliance teams so that there are less uploads. You don't have to go through 5 different email threads or other separate tools that are being used. And then additionally, it's going to timestamp the edits, suggestions, and approvals. So yeah, as somebody who has to edit documents back and forth and you're just dealing with I had version 3 and you were editing off of 5. And why were you doing... And then this takes a bajillion years for no good reason. This just seems like it's going to streamline and simplify the whole process. So kudos to you guys at Archive Intel. Those are some of my fancy feelings. How about you, Brandon?
Well, do you have some more fancy feelings? I just want to get all the fancy feelings out before I share. Because anytime you leave, hey, I might have some fancy. I'm like, I want to tee you back up. So I'll toss my baton back.
I think as far as the compliance part of things, it gets frustrating. I think anybody will tell you if you work in marketing that compliance is, they're going to kill any great idea that we have. Now having this direct connection to them and it just being like, look, we're looking for whatever it is that's going to get us sued or, otherwise really damage us, I think is super helpful. So I love that part of it. But just also when you have to go back through email threads, it made me think like, why is it that we've been doing it this way? When we moved over to Google Docs, that was some kind of like, oh, look, now it's all in one place and we can all collaboratively edit. And that seemed like brilliant. This by itself is just 10 times on that. So I think those might be all the fancy feelings.
Okay, fair. Yeah. So it sounds like it's really going to help with the collaboration aspect then. Then it's going to reduce the time that it takes to get an article published or approved or what have you. Probably allow firms to maybe loosen the grip a bit on the compliance side, because I think the main issue, at least this is what I experienced, and I worked at a large financial services firm, so I can very much confirm that is in fact true. Oftentimes you get least common denominator or LCD type of compliance. What's the biggest silly person, we'll call it, going to do out of all the people at your firm that could possibly get you and your firm sued? We have to write compliance for that person, even though there's a bunch of great advisors there. Now you can't even hardly post online or do marketing to attract the right types of clients. So hopefully whenever we see this, there's more great advisors that I know basically right now are stifled just because they don't have a voice and they're not allowed to. So hopefully as we see AI coming into play here, maybe we see a little bit less compliance. And again, I say less compliance, and I'm not against compliance. I'm against overly stringent compliance that doesn't actually serve the best interest of the client. But whenever I say I'm not for compliance, that's the type of compliance that I'm not in favor of. So if we can have more compliance that's truthfully, hey, we want to make sure that the client ends up where they're not being misled. We also want to make sure that our firm, of course, doesn't get sued. That's important. But like finding that balance versus, again, I've just been a part of where it's not been a balance. It's just, no, like you didn't even hear what I had to say. No, can't do it. It's like, okay, well, hopefully this and tools like this help shift it. So there's maybe some of my fancy feelings.
Yeah. And I'm glad that I wasn't the only one with fancy feelings. But to your point, I guess I understand strategically why you have to do compliance in that manner, that you have to prevent Bob or Sue or whoever it is from doing whatever horrendous thing that they could possibly do. But it just also feels like, why do we have to throw out the baby with the bathwater? Also, then maybe Bob or Sue shouldn't be working at the firm, or I don't know. But it just seems like to hurt however many people over basically the few doesn't make any sense to me.
Right. Yeah, agreed. And so again, I'm really hoping tools like this help with that, because I know some great advisors at some of these firms, and especially if they are at a firm that's going to be regulated by FINRA, a bit more stringent requirements oftentimes too, but incredible advisors and great to talk to and learn from, but they just can't. They don't have much flexibility to then share those types of things. And especially in the world, and I know we talked about influencers several weeks ago, maybe months at this point, with all the fancy feelings on me for that. And it's like, if we can get more legitimate financial advisors, more certified financial planning professionals, and just good advisors in general out there creating content, it's going to be a better place. Because I would much rather see my feed filled with a bunch of awesome planners than a bunch of the jokesters that I typically see on there just selling and frauding the people that they're talking to.
1,000,000%.
About influencers. Fancy feeling rant, done.
Got it. I didn't anticipate that we were going to get into the influencer, but I guess, I threw creator in there. So like influencer was really only like 2 degrees removed. So
yeah, it's close enough.
Yeah. Fair. Well, you have a fabulous time next week in Cabo. We will miss you, but have a relaxing time reading your tax books that somehow you find relaxing.
I appreciate it. Hey, that's my beach read. I'm a big nonfiction, business development. Yeah, maybe a little tax next week too. For whatever reason, that actually is enjoyable. So I'll be relaxing and learning at the same time.
And thank you as always for a great podcast.
Yeah, this was another fun conversation.
Thank you.